Hey guys, I am back. It's been a while. I was on a bit of a hiatus. Uh, had some home repair stuff I had to attend to, and the reading just wasn't there. I didn't have a lot of time, but I am back now, and unfortunately for you, my trusted viewers, my loyal viewers, I am back with this book. Finally got to finish Brian Keene's Urban Gothic. This edition from Dead Press came out in 2011. Comes in at 243 pages. It was previously published by a different company in 2009, so it's been out for quite a while. So let's get into it. We're introduced to a bunch of teens who are at a rap concert, and they want to score some weed in Camden, New Jersey. And Camden, New Jersey probably isn't your typical place to get lost at night, and yeah, just not a good neighborhood. But they get lost, and their car breaks down. And as they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, they're approached by these young black kids, and right away their prejudice sets in, and they think they're going to be robbed. They think that they're going to steal a car, or that these black kids are going to take advantage of them. And the first mistake they make is one of the characters calls a black character a really offensive word, which I do not have to repeat. We all know what that word is. And when I read that, I was like, what an idiot! It's like the last thing you want to say to somebody uh, in that situation, even if you are afraid. Why would you say that? It's going to get you in more trouble. So that was their first mistake. Their second mistake is running into the house that they run into, because this house is like a local haunted house. There's legend that when people go in, or there's stories that when people go in they don't come out, and there's a lot of legend, a lot of lore, and the people in the neighborhood know not to go in that house because they never see anybody go in, and when they do happen to see somebody go in, they don't ever come out. So these teenagers they're in this house, and it's immediately clear that this house is like a death trap. They are trapped in there, and as soon as they're in there, they are approached by these people that dwell in there, these creatures, these monsters, and they are very violent people, and you're not quite sure how long these people have been there, living in this place, but it's hinted that they've been there for quite a while, and they're essentially on scene by the outside. So they get into this house, and immediately there's just in like the first chapters there's a death, a violent death, and it feels like you're watching a slasher film, and it's just very quick, and the bloodshed and the mayhem is right in your face as soon as we open up the book, and that's what I like. Whereas we could have gotten to know the characters before all this stuff, we don't. We get to know the characters as they're surviving throughout this night of terror. And we get to know a little bit of their background, and through their internal monologue we get to know who they are as people, and they know, these kids, let me say this, these kids get themselves in a lot of stupid situations. It's really hard to have, it's really hard to find the sympathy for them because they do get themselves in such shitty situations. But as the book progresses and the characters learn from their mistakes, you're like, okay, they are learning, they're coming into their own. It might be a little too late now, but at least they've learned from their mistakes and their prejudice. And something about this book that is quite telling and very relevant to our times is this is a bad neighborhood. And the black people in the community, like the black kids that approach our main characters, they weren't out to do anything bad to them. They were actually going to help them fix their car or get them a ride or whatever. They were going to help them. But it was it was the other kids, their prejudice, that got them into this trouble in the first place. So these these other black characters that are in this book, they know that this neighborhood is bad, and they want to fix it. They want to actually do something positive. So they're trying to help these white kids who got lost in this house, even though the white kids were assholes to them. So it's a very, like I said, it's very relevant to our times, because they can't call the police because the police won't come to this neighborhood. You can't get an ambulance because the ambulance won't come to the neighborhood. There's no government help at all, and it's like a typical neighborhood in a city that is neglected by just about everyone, and it's quite sad. But as our characters get into this house, they are picked off one by one in the slasher fashion that I love so much, and it's very violent, very brutal. The detail is so great. Excuse me. And I always say this about Brian Keene. It's like when he starts a novel, he starts it. It doesn't it doesn't move slow. There's no slow build up. There's no let me introduce you to these characters. No. We start with the violent and the visceral and this just this literary attack, and then we get to know the characters, and I like that because it keeps the story moving. It's not boring. It's not just meandering, and that's what Brian King does best. And I sound like a broken record, but I have to emphasize every time that I read one of his stories, it's like he knows. It's like he's been around the block a few times. You know what I mean? He knows how to write characters that aren't white, uh, and for the white characters, he knows how to write them as well. He's a multifaceted, talented writer, and the dialogue feels real, like you're actually in that part of the neighborhood. You know what I mean? And he just he doesn't hold back, and I like that about him. This book is very good. I've heard from different people that if you're going to start out with Brian Keene, you probably shouldn't start out with this book, and I disagree. I mean, there are better books that I've read, but Urban Gothic is certainly uh, a very entertaining and quick read. Um, and if you are going to start with Brian Keene, why not start here? This would not be a bad place to start. Uh, the book kind of reminded me of Wes Craven's People Under the Stairs. Kind of like the same, not the same plot, but almost the same message, where it's like these neighborhoods that are just neglected, and there is this bad house that even the inhabitants of that neighborhood have no clue what is going on inside. They just ignore it. They see it every day. They don't go in. They don't venture near it. They themselves ignore this bad house, and they don't even know what lurks within the walls of that house. So I think that was very interesting too, because unfortunately, when people do find out what is inside that house, it is far too late. But yeah, the action keeps going. The violence picks up. It's just it's like watching Friday the 13th or Halloween or any slasher that you love. It's kind of like, watching a slasher film, and I love that about this. But yeah, this is definitely one of those books that you want to check out. It's on my highest recommendation. Like I said, there's even social commentary in it, so it's very relevant to what's going on in the world today, and that's always fascinating as well, um, because it doesn't matter what color you are or who you are as a person. Like, at least somebody who's writing a fiction book based on total fantasy, something from within their head, they know enough that this stuff really happens. The neglect and the racial prejudice in the world, and yeah, it's real, you know, and that's what I like about it. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm not going to give a lot away because I want you to read the book. You need to read the book. It's a good book, and you will not be disappointed. But until next time, stay within those pages. It's a lot better than reality, as I always say. I will see you again very soon. I am halfway through my next book that I'm going to review, so it shouldn't be too long before I'm back on YouTube. Yeah. Subscribe, like, comment, you know, whatever the kids say these days. Do all that stuff. And I will see you again very soon. Thank you for watching. Take it easy, guys.